Welcome to the National Inventor Club. My name is Brian Freed, and I am the founder of National Inventor Club and the Inventor Smart Community app. And we always look and find amazing guests, some that I've gotten a chance to know for a long time, others I just happen to meet, just kind of making my rounds in the industry. And we do whatever we can to bring you great information to keep your invention ideas moving forward. So thank you for joining us. We are in October 2025. And I hope you're all doing well with your inventions. Keep moving them forward. And we have more exciting information, resources, and tips for you to help you on your journey. So let's start off by bringing in Charlene Walters. She is been a friend of National Inventor Club for many years. I've known Charlene for many years as well. We did some podcasts together, worked with a network, a TV network. And Charlene has we haven't seen you in a while. I hope everything is well. I know you've been busy, but Charlene has an amazing book and a mindset to entrepreneurship. And she has a book called Launch Your Inner Entrepreneur. And she always has some great tips for us. So Charlene, welcome back. We're happy to see you.
Thank you so much, Brian. I'm happy to be here. And yeah, sorry, I've been kind of thrown myself into my own projects lately and just been swamped, unfortunately. But I'm so glad that the stars aligned and I could come on again today and get with you. It's always a pleasure working with you, and this group is amazing. So thank you for
Awesome.
having me.
Well, thank you, Charlene. So why don't you tell us some tips, advice, something to keep us kind of going ahead? I know that there's obstacles along the way. Sometimes we have to take a shortcut or sometimes we take a detour, but help us out. Tell us what you got for us.
Yeah. And so today I thought I'd kind of kick it back to just talking about entrepreneurial mindset in general, which is what, as you mentioned, my book is about. Because today, as a founder, this week as a founder, it's been one of those weeks I've needed to remind myself even about, staying in the right mindset to really do well. So when I think about and I talk about entrepreneurial mindset, I talk about certain shifts you need to make in terms of being successful as an entrepreneur. And so the first one of that is taking action. Obviously, you're all inventors, founders, you took that initial action to get your idea out there but it doesn't end there, right? We just have to keep taking action no matter what. If we hit a setback, we have to keep moving forward and kind of finding new paths to get things done. And then the other mindset shift that you need to have is sort of what I like to call embracing an entrepreneurial attitude. And that really means that so many people want to have this instant success, right? Myself included. But it never kind of works out that way. You have to kind of pay your dues and figure out why you're doing it and kind of stay aligned with that as you move forward. And another mindset shift that we need to have that many of us know very well is cultivating financial confidence, right? We're always dealing with money for our startup, money for our invention. And that means we have to get good with bootstrapping and budgeting and really just identifying and eliminating any financial or money blocks that we have, because we've got to keep coming up with that money to keep things moving forward. And then we want to raise money and we want to attract customers. So really having that confidence is really paramount to our success. We have to also be great with organizing our time, right? Setting goals, prioritizing our time and sticking with them to make them happen on schedule. And then getting better at things like leadership. And then next going into growth mode when our invention, when our product, when our service, our company takes off. So all these things are important shifts we need to make and stay on top of as we move forward. And then it's just about kind of repeating them, right? Rinse, repeat, keep going, moving ahead towards our goals.
And it's that mindset. I know, Charlene, you usually have a DR in front of your name, Dr. Charlene Walters, right?
Yes.
So I'm sure that there's
it
not
fell
only
off today. No, it's still there. It's just out
That's
there
okay.
in the digital realm. But yes, I'm a doctor. I'm a professor too, and I do some coaching. I do a lot of different things. But like all of you, I'm also a founder and understand your struggles. And we all need to remind ourselves from time to time what it takes to keep going and get on top of our business and make our invention, make our passion a reality.
Thank you so much. Charlene, you have a copy of that book so we can see what the cover looks like? Even though we're not supposed to judge it by the cover, we see you too. So
Yes, it's called Launch Your Inner Entrepreneur. You can find it Amazon, Barnes and Noble, anywhere books are sold. And I wish you all the best of luck with all of your entrepreneurial journeys.
thank you so much, Charlene. We'll see you
Thank
again
you,
very
Brian. We'll
soon.
see you soon.
Thank you. All right. And by the way, we are currently live streaming in the Inventor Smart Community app, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and we have Steve Greenspon tonight. He is he is the founder of Honey Can Do. He built his company up to $111 million and recently exited. We're going to hear his journey and plenty of tips and advice along the way that he has for entrepreneurs, inventors, startups, whatever you want to call yourself. If you're interested in licensing, you're interested in manufacturing, talking to buyers, setting yourself up to pitch, he's got it all. And I'm going to pick his brain tonight for you. So I'm excited to have Steve on in a little while. Before we do, let's have Elizabeth Doherty. She is from the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. She is the Eastern Regional Outreach Director. And I think you're also covering several other ones. So how about I let you do the intro?
Thank you, Brian. And it's a pleasure to be back on tonight with you and your audience. I love coming to the National Inventors Club. It's one of my favorite places to pop into on an evening. You're right. I'm not only serving as the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office's Northeast Regional Outreach Director, I'm currently also serving as the Southeast Regional Outreach Director and the Interim Regional Director for the Midwest. So I have the opportunity to engage with remarkable stakeholders in about 30 states and 2 territories.
Wow.
So it's great work, and I'm really honored to be able to do it on behalf of the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And I know that you always have great information for us, whether it's an event that's happening, something that inventors should know, something that's happening at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, but also, if you don't mind, for those of us who hear this Innovation Outreach Office, what is that and how can it benefit inventors?
Great question, Brian. And I appreciate that for kind of setting the stage and like laying the groundwork for what we're going to talk about tonight. Um, the Office of Public Engagement at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office engages with stakeholders from all walks of life, and it's done through primarily through our regional outreach offices that are located in Detroit, Dallas, San Jose, and out of our USPTO headquarters, which is where I'm located. And we engage with stakeholders, whether they're independent inventors, colleges and universities, K through 12 audiences, legal communities, small businesses, anyone who's interested to learn more about the role and importance of intellectual property. We love to collaborate, and that's why our friends here at the National Inventors Club are one of our greatest collaborators.
Thank you, Elizabeth. So what's happening at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office? I know there's some new people that are running the patent office. I know that there's different events. I'm getting some great emails of
Fantastic.
activities and boot camps that are going on. So maybe you can share what's hot right now.
Well, Brian, what I was going to share this evening is 3 things, and I'll keep it short because I know you've got other guests coming on behind me. One of which is a program that was announced very recently. There's 2 pilot programs that I'm going to talk about first and foremost. And one is a pilot program that kicked off just last week, and it's a new AI pilot for pre-examination utility application search. Applicants, in applying for a patent, can apply through a petition process with a small fee to receive a pre-examination search conducted by an internal USPTO AI tool. What's going to happen is if you elect through the petition process to have this done, we're going to provide you with 10 results, 10 results for you to take into your consideration with regards to your application. It may make you decide to file a pre-examination modification and amendment. It may make you think about maybe deferring your examination while you further refine. It's going to give you the opportunity to kind of reflect on what's in your sphere of endeavor, but it's also going to allow the USPTO to continue to refine AI tools, both for the public and for the examining core. So I think it's really what we'd call a win-win for both sides.
Mhm.
Um, in this pilot program, we are going to accept 1,600 requests, 200 for each technology center. So whether you're filing in a chemical, electrical, or mechanical technology center, each of those centers is going to have the opportunity to accept 200 requests for this early pre-examination AI search pilot. I'd like to tell you next about another pilot program that was just announced, and it is our streamlined claim set pilot program, and it's to help us reduce the patent backlog. We are suggesting that for applicants who come in with one independent claim and 10 claims total, and that can be done through a preliminary amendment if you've already filed, or if you are preparing to file and want to come in with a limited claim set and file a petition, that we will expedite your application for examination. We will expedite it to first office action, meaning if you file it with the petition and one independent claim, 10 claims total, we will take it out of the backlog or upon filing and accelerate it above applications that are already pending and awaiting examination. This is an effort on our part, again, to reduce the backlog and more efficiently get people their rights, get applications to examination so they can get those rights in hand in order to take that next step, whether it's commercialization, whether it's licensing, whatever your choice may be. We want to get rights into the rights holders' hands more quickly. And I think this pilot's going to be an interesting way to try
Great.
and do that. Like the AI search pilot, we're also going to be accepting 1,600 petitions, 200 in each technology center. And once we reach that limit, I think we'll evaluate what the results are and see if we want to expand it.
Fantastic. Great programs.
For sure. For sure.
Great
And I like the
programs.
fact that they're pilots because that gives us the time to really test the theory before we make something permanent or not.
Fantastic. So we're able to get kind of a patent search, and then we could take that information and we can decide if we want to move forward or not. Maybe we can bring it to a patent attorney or agent to help us to make that decision, and
Exactly.
and then to be able to move patents quicker through the U.S.
Exactly.
Patent and Trademark Office. I know it is something that's exciting, and after we file, we have to wait. So hopefully that
I
speeds
know.
up a little bit, and
Exactly.
it's a win-win, like you said, for everyone. Elizabeth, thank you so much. We love having you on here
Thank
every
you, Brian.
month. We
Always a
appreciate
pleasure.
it. And we'll see you again soon. U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, uspto.gov. They have an amazing inventor and resource center on there. You can go on, you can find it, and there's all kinds of tools and resources for you to kind of guide you in the intellectual property world. So thank you again, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Brian.
We'll see you
Take care.
soon. You too. All right, we've seen this guy a couple times, and I've been doing a bunch of interviews with him because he is freaking amazing. Freaking reviews. James White. He's got 1.5 million followers on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. He is a busy guy reviewing products. Doesn't take a penny from anyone. Sponsorships, people want to slip him a 20, he doesn't take it. He tells you like it is. James, welcome again to National Inventor Club.
Brian, always great to see you.
So I know you've been busy. You have many, many reviews that are active. You've actually reviewed our main guest speaker, Steve Greenspon, and Honey Can Do's products at some point. So hopefully it was good. We have to look that up in your archives.
That was like 7 years ago. That was quite a while ago.
All right. Well, he's I think he's 35 patents in, so we'll see which one that you did review for him. But James, you always have some great advice. You're seeing products, inventions, all kinds of gadgets. Not hair dryers, right? You don't want hair dryers. You don't want to review hair dryer.
I guess it's like on my beard, maybe, but that probably wouldn't be very accurate.
So why don't you help us and give us some tips and advice that that inventors are kind of craving for the information that you can help us with.
I will do that. But I was going to say that I actually heard from an inventor recently. It was a product that I liked, but their instructions were terrible. And they actually wrote to me just today and said, thanks for pointing out how bad our instructions were. We're actually updating those. So it's amazing that it got that far. But, I guess it took me to call it out before they could really fix them. So, instructions can be, kind of important. I think sometimes some inventors may actually not realize that, people using their product for the first time don't have, a 10-year investment in time like the inventor does, though. You really have to sometimes lay it out in much more detail than some inventors like to do. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, look, if hopefully everybody subscribes to your channel, but when they see you opening up a package, the first thing that you do is look for the instructions. You want to make sure that you're doing it right and following the way that they tell you. So you're right. Packaging and whether the instructions are on the package or in the package, they got to make sense.
One thing that, speaking of like inventors and new products, in the last couple of years, Temu has kind of come along and taken over from where Wish was. Wish was the big one, and then Temu, for whatever reason, just kind of stole their thunder. But if you ever browse Temu, you ever wonder, like, they always have such weird things in there, like scissors with like tape dispenser built in, or what is this thing? What's that supposed to be? Like a finger glove that has a magnet on it. They have weird cells. People like weird stuff. Like, and that's, they like to watch my reviews because I try to see if it works or not. But sometimes, like, what about this? Like, why would you need a gigantic watermelon knife like that? And does it work? Actually, it does work quite well. Or the staple-free stapler. I love that thing. It doesn't use staples. So those are the things I just, that catches my eye. And if it catches my eye, it tends to catch the eye of a lot of people browsing online.
Do you think there's a theme? You think there's a theme to the ones that you really like?
I think they're all unusual, and they all try to solve a problem that hasn't really been solved before. So, like this is one of those ones. It's like tape in a. I haven't used this. I haven't tried this one yet. This is one of my next videos. But a tape dispenser built into scissors. I can already tell you one problem with this one. It only uses 1/2-inch tape, which nobody uses. So
once you finish, you're done. You throw it out.
Well, I actually bought. So I had to go on Amazon and find some 1/2-inch tape to see if the refills work.
Oh.
Nobody buys 1/2-inch tape. Like you come up with this cool idea and you use a tape size nobody uses. Like it was one little detail, that just kind of killed your product.
Well, we are going to hear from Steve, and he's going to also pick on inventions that he's seen that could have been, but maybe just needed something a little different to pique his attention as a licensee, because he was on the side where talking about products. If there was a product that came to him that he liked, he would license it. So let's say an inventor earns royalties, or he just says no. So we're going to get into his head and learn a little bit about what made a good product or a great product,
right?
And building his company up to where he did. So
I think that a lot of the successful inventors are the ones that aren't so married to their product that they can't take criticism early on. Some people just get they just dig in and they won't concede anything. And
absolutely.
I think that's not to their benefit.
James, thank you as always for joining us. We can use as much information and advice as we can get. So thank you. And for those of you who have a product, not a hairdryer and not a lawnmower, because he lives in Las Vegas and he has a rock garden, he doesn't have any grass. So if you do have an invention that you feel is relevant, first off, go check out his channel, subscribe to it, watch a couple of them, see if your product makes sense for sending it to him. And I also have his address, his P.O. box address that you can send the samples to. So we could keep in touch. James, thank you as always. I'll catch up with you this weekend. Thank you.
Always my pleasure.
Speak to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. I just wanted to take a moment and introduce Andy Katz. He is our VP of Operations. All those beautiful emails and notifications and newsletters. This is the man behind it. Andy, thank you for all your support and everything you do and making it possible for National Inventor Club and the Inventor Smart community to keep ticking. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here, and I'm happy to support inventors.
Thank you very much, Andy. We'll have you back doing what you do best, right?
Absolutely. Definitely.
Thank you so much. We'll see you soon, Andy. All right, let's get Steve Greenspon. He is a consultant to consumer companies. He's got some following. For those of you who are watching on LinkedIn live stream, and I think you also hit your Facebook on the live stream. You have your audience watching. I have mine. We have inventors, entrepreneurs, startups, some with a big idea in their head, some they're further along the way. They're in retail. They're trying to get in retail. Somewhere in between, maybe they're struggling with a prototype. They're trying to refine their invention to make it perfect, whether to manufacture or to show a potential licensee to earn royalties. But we're going to go through all that. I'm going to pick your brain, Steve. Hopefully you'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy this is done because I'm exhausted. I hope you're okay with that.
That's good. All good. So my only request is that you lower the expectations, because you're building me up here, and
well,
people are going to expect me to say something smart.
Well, you know what, Steve? I think you and I have known each other for well over 15 years.
Yeah, so
right?
Since junior high. Yep.
Since junior high. We've met at the Inspired Home Show, which used to be called the International Houseware Show.
Yep.
And I know you've had a great experience there, and because of there and being able to showcase Honey Can Do, which is your baby, building that up. So, Steve, thank you for joining us. If you can take a moment to tell us about yourself and how we have you as our main guest speaker tonight.
No, I appreciate the invite, Brian. Thank you, and it's so great to hear about freaking reviews and the USPTO and the book for entrepreneurs and of course your team. So appreciate you having me on. Thank you. As you mentioned, I founded Honey Can Do in 2007, had it for 18 years, grew it to a little bit over 110 million in revenues, sold it earlier this year. Honey Can Do was a leader in the storage organization and laundry care products. Things like shelving units and coat hangers, laundry hampers, drying racks, and related products, ironing boards and clothespins, and all sorts of housewares items. At one time, we owned a wok brand and got into a number of acquisitions, which we'll probably talk about a little bit later. But sold that earlier this year. I'm a former chairman of the International Housewares Association. Prior to Honey Can Do, I had run a couple of other companies within the consumer space and the building product space. Run marathons and do triathlons as a leisure activity these days. I'm not winning any of the races, but my only goal is to finish and not get hurt.
Sounds good. And you are in Chicago?
Located in downtown Chicago, exactly.
That's great. So, Steve, you've been in a situation, in a position where you've built a company, you had an idea, you're 35 patents in, you've built the company up to a little over $110 million, and you recently sold it. So kind of going through that journey, number one, you're an inventor. Number two, you're a business owner, entrepreneur. You were a licensee, right? You were looking at products, and inventors were pitching you to try to get their product into your product line. You were manufacturing a bunch of products. You were working with a team. I think you had how many? About 200 employees?
Yeah, at the peak during COVID, about 200 people.
About 200 people. So you were managing the business, but you were also working with factories, and you were also pitching buyers, marketing, and then distribution. Well, that's part of the buyers, but you also had to handle all the logistics.
Absolutely.
So all that is what we do as inventors, maybe not on a $110 million scale, or maybe we are there, or maybe we're somewhere along the way, or maybe we're just getting started. So, Steve, I'd like to start off because there's so many inventors, and even people they don't even know that they don't even call themselves an inventor. You know this. People come to you and they come to me and they call me, hey, Brian, I have this great invention. I'm going to make $1 gazillion with it. I want to sell it, right? I just came up with this idea and poof, I want to sell it. Well, there's a little work to do before you do that. But let's talk about licensing. So there's licensing to earn royalties. There's manufacturing. And you being on the other side of the table, where we're coming and pitching you, what's the, I know that you've licensed some products and most of the time you rejected them, and maybe it was the timing, maybe it was the product, maybe there's a lot of factors along the way, maybe you were having a bad day, whatever it was, there was a point where you had inventions that you were looking at. So can you give us some advice from the inventor side to understand what do we need to do before we pitch a licensee? So as an inventor, we're the licensor, we have the intellectual property, you are the licensee, for example. So what are some tips and advice that you could give us to kind of before we pitch?
I would say that the easiest pitch that somebody could make is having a track record and already being in the market and having that proof of concept. And this is true. Like when I had an established company and we would go to retailers pitching products to them, you know, they would ask us, who else are you selling this to? What's it doing in the market? Why do you think this is successful? And if an inventor could come to Honey Can Do or a different brand within their category, you know, I obviously approach a company that makes sense based on the type of product that you have. Because I can't tell you how many times we were pitched products that just made no sense for the categories in which we operated. But you know, they go to the appropriate company, and if they could come to us and say, "Hey, I'm already selling this on Amazon or this other platform, Walmart.com, or as a third-party seller on eBay, and I'm selling X number of units, and here's the margins, and here's the acceptance of the market, and here's what we're learning, and everything else." You know, to me, that's a lot more of a slam dunk. I can't tell you how many times the pitch has been, yeah, that's I've got this new product, or I've got this idea for a new product, and no, it hasn't been to market, but this is something that I would buy, and my spouse says that they would buy it, and my mom says she would buy it. So obviously this thing is ready to go to market and to be successful. So where's my check? And with that, it's not a good way to have a successful licensing conversation. You know, what folks I think that they get is that whether it's a big company or an individual inventor, is that there is a monstrous investment of resources that go into bringing just a single product to market, whether it's tooling or molds or you know, doing the packaging and setting up the design and getting the certifications if needed, setting up the digital assets and the artwork and the photography, and of course the investment in the inventory and all of these things. And you know, you know, as much as we all want to be nice people and support entrepreneurs and the inventor community, it's also a business, and there needs to be a way to show a return on that investment as well.
Yeah, it makes sense. You know, a lot of times as inventors, though, we're limited on funds. We got through the patent work. We're patent pending. Maybe we have an issued patent, and we don't know much about manufacturing and getting into all that and setting ourselves up on Amazon. So sometimes there's inventors that are going into this saying, I just want to come up with the idea. I want to protect it. Maybe I'll build a good prototype. I show you, Steve, and you guys can run with it. There's other companies that I've pitched as a licensing agent that say, you know what, if you brought it to market already, we don't want it. But and so they take more of a risk of bringing it to market. You are looking at products that say, you know what, it's validated in the market. It looks like there's less risk, so we could take a chance, and maybe they have inventory that you could work. And like you said, you kind of went through all those steps that a new product has to go through in your company. And then the other part of that is you have to prep the sales team, and they have to go meet the buyers, and the buyers have to want it too, right?
Absolutely.
So it's a little bit of a journey there, but it's important to understand what it is that the company is looking for, and your company, when you owned it, that was important to you, and that was one of the main factors. So that's great advice, Steve.
Absolutely.
What about what we pitch? So I know for you, there were people that came to you with a product that already was in the market and it had some credibility out there. What was it though? Because there's products that sell. What was it that piqued your interest besides just looking at what the sales were? Obviously, it had to fit your brand.
Absolutely. Yeah. Fit the brand, be within our categories. So because we have access to specifically within the storage and organization uh, market, as well as the non-electric laundry care market. So that's what everybody in our company is thinking about all day, every day, whether it be the product people, the marketing folks, the sales folks. We're all in that world. And if somebody comes to us and has a pet product or a biomedical device or something that's completely out of our world, and even if it's adjacent, if it's in the hydration space, it's not something that we would be successful with. So we ask that they understand who we are as a company and what we do and the types of products and categories that we're in before they make that pitch. When we've done licensing deals, and I don't know what the percentage is, but it wouldn't surprise me if somebody told me that we licensed a fraction of 1% of all of the products that we were shown over the years. Because it was very, very few, and we got pitched on a regular basis. So, it wouldn't surprise me if every week we receive new pitches. The ones that stood out, obviously being in our category, being something that we hadn't really seen before, it solved a problem, as you mentioned earlier. And, it was able to be made at a retail price. The packaging and the logistics could be done in a reasonable way. It had already been vetted in some way by the market. Even if sales weren't over the top, if we could see kind of a path to get this thing to strong sales, by putting our efforts behind it, then it was something that we would take a look at investing in.
I know that you had your criteria kind of structured there, but for the other inventors that don't necessarily have a product manufactured to be able to start selling, what kind of advice can you give to them with how to pitch their idea? Even though some were in the market, some weren't in the market, maybe you can help us to kind of get our understanding of what would pique a licensee's interest. Was it videos? Was it sell sheets? Was it just static images? Did we need a prototype? Did we need to ship you a prototype to test it? Did we need to call you 5 times a day? Give us some advice.
Yeah, it's I will say, and I know this from other folks within the housewares industry, is the decision makers are not always open to having inventors call on them directly. It's probably within most organizations, it's probably the vice president of products that are really the influencer and the decision maker that you want to get a hold of in that space. And also, I mean, in some cases, they might license out some of their product selection to an outside firm if they're a bigger company. And maybe finding out if that's the case and pitching to them. There are folks within the housewares industry that actually are third-party designers and providers for companies. And I say this for the housewares, they might also do hardware companies and companies in a wide range of different industries. So, so finding those companies, and you're not asking them to do a design, but they might be able to help you get your product to market and help you get your product in front of the right people. Because that's what they do is they're always looking for product improvements and ways to bring new products to these companies, because that's their client base. There is no magic formula. I mean, I was always very accessible. LinkedIn, obviously, you look at every LinkedIn message that you receive. That's a good way to get a hold of people. the phone, it's, a lot of folks get annoyed by phone calls. You can't show up at somebody's door anymore without, the police being called. Emails might be a way with an attachment. And if you can get somebody at the right time and the right day, they'll open it up and take a look at it. We were still getting product submissions through the mail. And those, it didn't always go well because then, the obvious thing is like, if they're not innovative enough to get this to you electronically, then, how innovative are they? So, and that's might be fair, might be unfair, but that was often the thought process that I received. But
very interesting. I know that there's kind of expectations that you probably have, and people kind of reach out and say, Brian, I want to give away 5%, 95 for me and 5 to the licensee, right? I'm sure that people probably came to you and they go to other industry, potential licensees, and they have certain expectations. Most of the time in the housewares, from my experience, is anywhere from 2 to 5% royalty, and that's of the wholesale price. So if something costs $2 to make, and they sell it to wholesale to Walmart, let's say for $5, and Walmart sells it for $9.99 on the $5 wholesale, let's say you earn a 5% royalty. That's 25 cents per unit. Does that sound about right, Steve?
Yeah. And if you don't mind, Brian, before we go to that question on the royalties, just wanted to have a shout out at trade shows also.
Oh yeah.
I know at the Inspired Home Show they have the Inventors Corner. If they're still doing that, and that's a great place to get in front of retailers and brands as well. If you have an invention, I think it's a nominal cost. You might be more familiar with it than I am to have some space there, because they purposely want smaller companies and entrepreneurs and inventors in that space there. So
absolutely, and there's trade shows in every industry.
Absolutely,
you gotta find them. You gotta go to the companies that are the players in the business and see which trade shows they're going to.
Yep.
And get out there and walk the floor and see what it is, right? See your competition, see what's trending, meet people. Like I've gotten a chance to meet Steve for all these years. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Yeah. And obviously that's how you get to know the industry, and they're right in front of you. They're not running away from you when you walk up to them at the trade show and you have the opportunity. Well, yeah, maybe they would, but it's a great way to get feedback, and even if it's constructive feedback, it's all feedback is helpful in some ways. So that's a great way. So sorry about that. Back to your question on the royalties.
Yeah.
Just to point something out there, and I know that you understand this, Brian, and for everybody else. So within your example of that wholesale price of $5, that doesn't mean that the company is making $3 of profit. Obviously, that's the gross margin. But every company has investments in the logistics to get it to their customers, or to get it from the manufacturer to their own warehouse. They have investments in marketing and promotions and salespeople and promotional materials, and obviously within their companies they've got accounting and HR and all the different departments to support that. So the overall profit margins that I've seen, especially within the housewares industry that I know best, are typically anywhere from single digits to very low double digits. So they're not making these monstrous profits, and the inventors feel like they're not getting their fair share of only getting 5% commission. You figure if a company's overall EBITDA margin is let's say 10% for maybe a high performing company, and they're giving the inventor 5% royalty, it is significant for that product, for that company. So so that's why these decisions are not made, are not taken very lightly in
absolutely
these cases. But typically depending on the product and where it is in the process, and maybe the retail of the product and the potential for it, and if there's competition for it. I've seen commission rates anywhere from 2% and maybe on the high end, maybe as high as 8% or so.
Yeah, and I think it's also based. I know Kara, she's on here, and she's talking about, you have certain niches that you've worked on. Again, Steve sold his company, and I got him to tell us his secret sauce and what he did behind the scenes. But we're just talking about when you go to potential licensees, Kara. So if you're looking at licensing and you have, it looks like in the shoe business, you probably want to go to the players in the shoe business and see if they're interested in your intellectual property. Most of the time, that's what they're going to license, is the rights to your IP, where they're going to have a competitive advantage in the market and be able to have it for a certain amount of time, that they're the only ones selling it and you both earn from it. Right, Steve?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I don't know if there's I'd assume that there's a trade association for shoe manufacturers, that there's a trade show for the shoe industry, or maybe it's part of a larger apparel industry or hosiery or something like that. But certainly that's where you want to be if you're in footwear.
So just kind of going through, that was the journey of licensing. And as long as, obviously the terms of the agreement and besides the royalty rate, the distribution channel, the expectations and forecasting of how much you're going to sell, and if it's exclusive, non-exclusive, obviously it should be exclusive if it's in the same category. If it's
Absolutely.
in a different category that you're not selling, okay. But if it's the same and you're going to compete, it doesn't make sense, right?
Absolutely.
So let's continue now on this journey. We have some options as an inventor. Do we want a license to earn royalties and possibly work with a player in the industry? They manufacture it, they distribute it, and us as the inventor can earn royalties from it. Or maybe we do want to manufacture it. We want to build a brand. Maybe we tried to license it and we hit a brick wall, and all of a sudden we start manufacturing and selling it. And then we go back to a company like what you had, Steve, and you say, you know what? Yeah, you have some proven sales. I'm interested. Let me take a look. You've already validated the product for me. So now 35 patents in, you built this company, you had to start manufacturing. What was that kind of aha moment for you to say, you know what? I need to start working with factories to build my product, which I think it was an ironing board, if I remember.
So yeah, our first products were primarily garment racks and drying racks. But so I'll say this up front, and this might be counterintuitive to a lot of your audience here, but I didn't start the company because I had an idea for a game-changing product. And to be honest, our best-selling products were fairly basic items. We became the number one provider in the United States of ironing boards, and we certainly did not invent ironing boards, and we certainly did not make a significant change that changed the world of the way that they use ironing boards or the way that they iron their clothes. We were the number one provider of clothespins, which has been around for over 100 years, and we did not reinvent that product at all. We had some little subtle changes to the designs and made it a little bit more user-friendly and a little bit stronger design, but we certainly didn't invent a new way to hang clothes. Number one provider of clothing drying racks in the country as well. And there we had some fun designs, some unique things, but I certainly wouldn't say that we changed the game of drying clothes in any way. What we did differently was kind of how we went to market. We embraced e-commerce and online shopping well before anybody else in our category did, and made it very, very user-friendly for the retailers and for consumers. We had a world-class warehouse, so we were able to get products out quickly, efficiently, and accurately. We had great packaging, so when the product was on the shelves, it would be selected. We found ways to bring products at a great value for consumers. That got us there. And we also had what I would call a full line within the category. For a lot of the retailers and the retail buyers, if you can, anything that you could do to make their job easier, they'll embrace it. So by us being active in a wide range of different manufacturing processes and a lot of range of materials and types of products within the same category, they were able to come to us and say, hey, I have 4 feet of space, I have 8 feet of space or 12 feet of space that I need to fill up with storage and organization and laundry care products. And we became essentially a one-stop shop for them. And that was a huge part of our success formula over the years as well. But, as you mentioned, I had the patents, and we had a phenomenal product team at our company that were always innovating and always looking at the market and studying the data and coming up with new ideas and presenting them. And we were considered the design leaders within the category by a number of retailers. But those were and products, but the basics were always the best sellers. And really what our company did was we innovated in other ways, in addition to having great product. Obviously our products worked, and they worked well, and they were great designs, and they were we backed them with a strong warranty. But they weren't necessarily. I didn't start the company with this phenomenal idea for a game-changing product,
and it doesn't have to be.
Yep.
You started it along the way. You said, you know what, this is working, or maybe it's not working, or maybe I'm hearing my customers say that we're having some issues with something, and you probably you saw the problem and you figured out the solution, and all of a sudden, patent number 1, patent number 20, patent number 35. And what's interesting also, Steve, and this is kind of interesting, is I always talk about the window of opportunity. There could be people out there that have a certain niche product. Even Kara, I know where you're asking some licensing questions. We're on manufacturing at this point, but if you have a woman's shoe, you probably lost half your audience, right? With kitchen, storage, laundry, you probably have a bigger window of opportunity. I'm not saying that there's not a need for other niches, right? But how many people have a kitchen? When I was on QVC and I had a product that I would show, it was a bag sealer. But then I said, you can use it in the pantry. You can use it in cereal. You can use it in the freezer. How many people have a kitchen? That's how I won. And you're doing the same or you did the same in that industry. So Steve, I know that you kind of started with almost a generic product and built it into this brand. But for inventors, if you could just give us some advice on the manufacturing side. We have this idea. We want to start a brand, right? A product is a product to start, and then a brand. Maybe we have an anchor product, our invention. What's some advice that you can give us starting off manufacturing?
Yeah, and today the access to manufacturing is so much stronger than it was when I started my company in terms of finding it. Within the last 6-7 months, obviously things have changed in the United States related to tariffs. So, what I tell folks is that if you don't already have a legacy cost in tooling and molds, and if your product is relatively low labor, and if the infrastructure exists in the United States, you should probably explore seeing if you could make the product at a reasonable cost, an effective way within the United States, because that would relieve a lot of headaches at this point. But that's very, very few physical products are being made in the U.S. and the infrastructure isn't necessarily there. If it's plastic mold injected, that is probably the most perfect type of product to make in the U.S. at this point, because it's low labor and there's plenty of facilities that exist for it, and the infrastructure is there for it in the United States. But there's many items that can't be. At this point, tariffs are going to influence which countries you should be looking at, and those seem to change regularly. There was just an announcement on a new tariff deal for Vietnam earlier this week. So keep your eyes on that, because it's a big investment of time and potentially money wherever you choose to make the products. And if you choose the wrong partner, then in many cases it's a sunk cost, and you'll have trouble getting your tooling back after you've made that investment. So try to minimize it as best you can. See if you're if the manufacturer will take on that risk and build it into the price somehow. But now the internet is probably the best resource. For finding manufacturers. You can go through trading companies or other brokers in order to do it. There's a number of companies that, and some of them are U.S. based, that will, be kind of a vertical manufacturing partner for you, and they'll subcontract to the manufacturers and do it for you. And maybe there's a little bit less risk if you're able to talk to them and they're a U.S. based company. But of course, you're paying for that, for that, taking the risk away and for making things a little bit easier. So you have to weigh that out there. But figure out what is the material and what is the process needed to make your product, and start with there and do a search online and see what comes up, and continue to search and. Send the emails, make the phone calls, and go from there. If you're
a hustle,
yeah,
right. And you know what it is also, Steve. It's when you're reaching out. So, for example, I manufacture in the U.S., China, Vietnam, Malaysia, India, right, for different products, and they all have different MOQs, minimum order quantities, especially for us just starting off, and then the pricing is based on that and our price break. So a lot of times we're getting pricing, and because we're starting with a low minimum order quantity, our prices are much higher, and then we want to sell it. But if the prices are too high, nobody's going to buy it. We have to be able to make a profit with investing and doing all this. You know what I mean? So it's a real balance of figuring out if it makes sense or not. And if it's over your head, then try to license. But if you can try to build a business, build a brand, you could be on National Inventor Club after building your company up to $110 million and exiting like Steve.
There you go.
We all have to start somewhere.
Yep.
So
the other thing that I'll mention is going back to the trade shows, is that if somebody wants to make the investment in a flight and in a hotel room, they have trade shows in every country. Related to a wide range of different products, and there you're going to meet the manufacturers directly. So, if you have a product, and I'll use a shoe as an example, and depending on what the shoe is made out of, but if you find, hey, there's a trade show with footwear going on in Vietnam in January, and you decide to fly out there and attend that trade show. And you see companies with shoes that might have a similar material and a similar manufacturing process to your product. Bring your product there, and that's a phenomenal way to meet new manufacturers.
Thank you, Steve. I know that we're getting close to the time. Are you okay? You're good. I know you have some company, but I want to pick your brain a little bit more, if that's okay.
I all the time you need, Brian.
Thank you so much, and I know the audience appreciates it. I know also that I'm seeing some of the comments that are coming in. I know that a bunch of them are your followers also that are kind of cheering you on here. So thank you everybody for your support. By the way, we do have an app for inventors. It's called Inventor Smart Community. You can download it on Google Play or Apple App Store. We have engaging conversations. We have book clubs. We have Q&A sessions. We have meet and greets and live and online. We have a lot of activity going on. So we want to keep these conversations going. But we have Steve here who's going to keep giving us some great information. And I'd like to shift over to distribution. So here we are. We have this prototype. We have this product. We're at a point now where we need to market it. But I know that you've pitched a lot of buyers, and this is kind of interesting because I guess it can be whether it's a prototype or a finished product. What was your experience pitching buyers? I mean, you pitched to all the major players. What was it that you kind of your secret sauce of what intrigued them and had them sending purchase orders to you?
So I read a book decades ago, and at some point I should memorize the title, but I want to say the author was his name might have been Kenneth Blanchard, and this is a very easy read. And it was called the 1 minute sales or the 12-minute salesman or something like that, or salesperson. But maybe I'll look it up at some point here. But everything in there is very logical. I'm not going to say anything that's going to make anybody's brain explode, but it's figuring out what the buyer's goals are and what they want to do and how you can help them achieve their goals. And it's as simple as that. So, and for everybody, it's different, whether it's, if I can use some brand names here, whether it's Amazon or Walmart or Wayfair or Target or Kohl's or somebody else or Grainger, each buyer has different goals, has different thresholds that they need to meet, has different bonus plans, that are set by the company based on the company's goals. And if you can, figure out what their goals are through communication with them, and through studying their companies and what motivates their companies and their consumers, boy, that's a big part of the battle. Whenever we would present or pitch, whatever term you want to use, to a major retailer, we were pitching specifically for them. And, and it wasn't a one size fit all with the major retailers. It was because when you're talking to the buyer at Wayfair, it's much different than pitching to the buyer at Walmart, for instance, or Amazon, because, you're having a different conversation and there's different motivations and different things and different products that you're selling to them based on who their consumers are. So that's a big part of it. We more recently, over the last several years, subscribed to a wonderful platform that gave us all sorts of market information out there on what was being searched for on our customers' websites by consumers. And that drove a lot of our product development recently, and we found that we got much greater hits. Based on that, we got better product placement, and when the products were placed, the success rate was much higher. We saw what their consumers were buying and the trends. We saw what materials and what weight capacities and what finishes and colors and the amount of information that we were able to gain by having access to this data. It was a complete game changer on there. It wasn't cheap, but we found the return made it very, very worthwhile.
I'm thinking back when you first started, Steve. I didn't ask you this question when, over the years that we've gotten a chance to know each other, but when you got into this, did you expect to be, you're talking about Mr. Salesman, manufacturer, reviewing products, dealing with logistics and marketing and everything else? Can you believe when you come up with something, right, an idea to start a business, all these different caps that you have to put on when you kind of reflect back, right?
Yeah, it's what I'll say, over the 18 years, I had a lot more great days than bad days, and probably a lot of your inventors and entrepreneurs can identify with this. But when things are going well, there is no greater feeling in the world, and when things might take a little bump, it's a very lonely and a very bad feeling as well. So
yeah, absolutely.
But it's I'll say in running a company, you get to be very, very adept at a wide range of things, and if you're fortunate, you're able to build a tremendous team that can handle all the different areas that you need. And I'll say I learned a great deal over the years from the folks that I was proud to call teammates of mine.
That's great. We just back to the manufacturing for a second. So we're inventors. We have one product. should we be pitching buyers with one product? I mean, I'm reflecting back because I'm here in Long Island, and I had Bed Bath and Beyond headquarters here for a while, and I used to go there, and they'd be like, Brian, we love having you here. You have 6 products you're showing us. This one, no. This one, no. A lot of no's. This one, all right, let's put this. Maybe it's a different category. This one we love. This one, no, right? Or come back in 6 months. So, Brian, we like this one. We want to do something, but you're only going to have one SKU. You know Gary. Go to Gary. See if he wants to add it to his product line, and we'll do a 30-store test. These days, because that was a little while ago, Bed Bath is in its own world now. But I'm just saying, should we as inventors spend our energy and time to pitch buyers?
Yes and no is the honest answer. So, boy, if you're an inventor and you can go to a brand and say, "Hey, I've got this major retailer that says that they'll add our product," and I'm saying in the stores, and I'll talk about online in a second, but in their stores, and and they want you as an existing vendor to be the vendor for them. That's a relatively easy pitch, I would say. And working out the deal and everything else. But for that, there's an existing audience, and there's other complications. I don't want to over ease the process, but that's great. It's hard, but Bed Bath and Beyond, and there's a new Bed Bath and Beyond, but I'm talking about the old one in Long Island. They were for a retailer that size with nearly 1,000 stores. They were very, very open to looking at new products and new innovations, and it worked for them for many, many years, and they were very successful, and their customers loved them because they would see different things within their stores. And that's a rarity. I will say that's an absolute rarity for companies that size. So on the one hand, I would say it'd be impossible for somebody with one product to get it into a major retailer.
It's tough.
Brick
Right.
and mortar, exactly.
Right. And the way the buyers work, right? I mean, they have a certain amount of shelf space that they're in charge of, and they have to produce. So they have Johnson & Johnson, and they have Brian the inventor with his one product. If it doesn't do well, they can go to their boss and say, what do you want? It's Johnson & Johnson, right? Or they took a risk with us, but maybe we did prove that it had some sales and everything else to make them take a chance on us. But so what do we do, Steve? We want to get into a major retail store. We have one product. Maybe we build a brand like you, and then we start going in. Or what are the other options for us when we have one product and we want to see distribution, Steve?
So today, more so than in the past, somebody with one product can get to market online through the marketplaces, and you don't even need to get it passed by a buyer. You could just sign up on any one of these many marketplaces yourself and get the product in the market and promote it yourself and set the retail and do the advertising, and you've got a company, by gosh, in order to do that. And as I was saying, if you can build your audience and make those initial investments and have a story, then it's a lot easier to go to retailers and go to the brands and be able to license your product or pitch your product or get your product some placement. Instant brands is probably the exception that comes to mind, but that's one out of how many, I'm guessing millions and millions and millions of inventions out there of one product to one inventor that is successful. And that's an absolute outlier exception to the nth degree. It's I would say if you can build that track record and build that, build the story based on bringing it to market yourself, then it's a lot easier to pitch it to others.
You have a better chance. Absolutely. Steve, there are inventors and entrepreneurs, startups, whatever we want to call ourselves. Sometimes people come up with an idea and they're like, I'm not an inventor. I'm like, I think you're an inventor. I mean, you came up with something, you saw a problem, you saw a solution, but you've kind of seen it all over the years. And we're at all different stages. give us some final words of wisdom. I mean, this whole episode tonight was all about words of wisdom from you. But, some of us are beat up. We're getting our butts kicked. Some of us are seeing some success. We're dealing with trying to get through and manufacture, and we're just learning what a tariff is, or maybe we're knocking on doors trying to get a licensing deal and nobody's listening. Or maybe we have had some success. Give us some final words of wisdom from you, Steve.
So I don't know if I'd call these words of wisdom, but I'm happy to talk.
Okay.
So do something that you're passionate about. Do something that you believe in. Do something that you really feel strongly about. Because truly, if this is what you want to do for your vocation, then make sure it's something that you enjoy, and don't follow what you think is an easy buck or a big buck or something like that. Do something that maybe it's your hobby. Do something that you enjoy and that you feel strongly about. Because to make this successful, you're going to want to invest your heart and your time and possibly a good deal of your worth into it in order to prove it's successful. And I'm not giving that as advice, but I'm saying that that's what a lot of folks do, and in some cases that might be the only way to get the product to market. So be passionate about it. Work your network. I can't stress enough how important your network is, and building your network and maintaining your network is to being successful with any business, but especially when you're a startup and inventing a new product. I mean, use LinkedIn as a phenomenal tool. Go to networking events, go to trade shows, go to different places where you can meet people. I tell folks I never turned down an invitation from a middle market banker in the Chicago area over the years, because my dad taught me at a young age that at the time that you need financing is the worst time to start a relationship with a banker. Just have those relationships available so they know who you are. And they know your story when you're ready to ask them for a partnership. And you never know who's going to know somebody who can introduce you to somebody, and continue to tell your story to anybody that'll listen. And they might have some ideas for you, or they might know somebody who knows somebody who can help you out with it. So
that was great.
Thank you.
Great advice. Great advice, and all the way through. This has been.
Oh, good. So I was only shooting for very good advice. So I overachieved.
Amazing. So it says on your title, consultant to consumer companies. It seems like you are ready to rev up for whatever it is you have cooking. Since we're in the housewares industry, no pun intended there, but you were in the storage, and the laundry. So hopefully you have some good, clothes that are folded properly and ironed properly. Me, I'm inventing products in the kitchen. I've done a bunch of those, and I'm not really, a kitchen, cook or whatever. But I saw things that kind of annoyed me that I converted into, having 15 patents. So it's interesting. But Steve, I think you're just starting your journey. I mean, that was a chapter in your life, and me watching you grow up, in the industry. Congratulations. Amazing accomplishment. And I know you have so much more to go, and I'm looking forward to hopefully doing some things together. But Absolutely. What are you doing right now? For those of us who might be watching or listening and going, oh my gosh, Steve, I want to pitch my invention to him. What are you up to now? So we kind of set expectations.
Yeah, so it's been almost accidental. I obviously, as the former chair of the Housewares Association, and just knowing people, I was in the hardware industry before that, and I've always kept a strong network, following my dad's advice. But we. Just friends and friends of friends, as I've been talking to them, have come to me and said, "Hey, I need a little help with logistics. I need a little help with manufacturing. I need a little help with sales." And I've been just working on that with some companies, and working within their budgets. This is something that, it's something that I enjoy, and I enjoy the people that I'm working with, and I enjoy the companies that I'm working with, and having fun. I was just started working this week with a company called New Air Appliances that make phenomenal beverage coolers, and working as their head of sales on a fractional basis. I work with a company called American Dream Home Goods, helping them with a number of activities. A company called Bellwith, which makes cabinet and drawer pulls, and helping them with their e-commerce division, which is something that I was a very early adopter to, and just enjoy that channel in general. So these are just folks that approached me, and I'm loving every minute, and have some flexibility, and just I read books for the first time this summer in nearly 20 years. So I was a little bit burnt out after 18 years at Honey Can Do, but yeah, definitely refreshed and enjoying life.
Congratulations again, Steve. Let's keep in touch.
Absolutely.
Steve is active on LinkedIn. You can find him there. And I'm not sure if we can leave it a surprise, because I don't know your answer based on the time we kind of went over a little bit. But for all of you who are watching and listening right now, not when you watch it, in a week from now, after this, we have a after meeting networking, and you might see Steve in there, you might not, but we are going to talk about this meeting, and be able to help each other out. And as I always say, keep our invention ideas moving forward. Steve, thank you so much. This was amazing. It's just like getting into the brain of on the other side that's been there, done that. And, I could say things and other people, but you've done it, and we appreciate it, and where you are today. So thank you so much again.
This was a lot of fun, and I envy the folks that are starting out, because I look back at those days, and just with all the enthusiasm and the energy and the adrenaline, and just celebrating the wins, and it's a very, very special time. So please, although it's frustrating and you're frazzled, do your best to enjoy it.
Thank you so much, Steve. Hopefully we see you in the after meeting. If not, we'll keep in touch on LinkedIn, and thanks again. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate this.
All right. I told you it was going to be. Let's see if I did give Steve that exhausting feeling, but I think he's pretty strong building that company up. He's got plenty of energy. So thank you again, Steve Greenspon. He is the former CEO and founder of Honey Can Do. That was very inspirational and informative. So for those of you who are still on, let's go into the Zoom link for our after meeting networking. And for those of you who are watching this and you're not in the app, please join us. It's free. Come in, set yourself up with a good profile, and come be part of the action. We're networking in there. We have all kinds of events that are happening, and we all are in the same boat. We're all looking to figure out a way to make our dreams a reality. Maybe it's residual income. Maybe we want to change our life, whatever the reason is, or maybe you just want to have a patent up on the wall. Whatever it is, it's exciting. Come join us. Inventor Smart Community on the Google Play Store or Apple App Store. We'll see you again soon. Thank you. Have a great night. And when you're in all these things, or you follow or you like us, you'll also get notifications on our next meetings that we have. We have meetings every single month. We have a huge archive of previous meetings, and we have all kinds of high-profile people and resources and information for you, so you can keep moving your invention forward. Until next time, have a great night. We'll see you in November, and stay tuned for our next amazing guest that we'll have then. Thank you. Have a good night.